Kadosh. Tzaorayim Tovim, good afternoon. We're going to start a quick Hazara on Masechet Taanit, Daf Bet Amud Aleph, 2a1. Says the Mishnah, Me'matai Maskirin Givurot Geshamim. From when are we going to mention the strengths, Givurot Geshamim, which is Mashiva Ruach, Umorid Ageshem. Yeah, so he comes and he says, from when are we going to mention Mashiva Ruach, Umorid Ageshem? Says the Mishnah, Rabbi Eliezer says, Yom Tov Rishon Shel Chag. From the first day of Chag. The first Yom Tov Rishon is the first day of Chag. That's when we're going to do it. Rabbi Yoshua Omer. Rabbi Yoshua says, Lavdi ben Kodesh L'chol. Right? Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Miyom Tov Acharon Shel Chag. What does it mean, Yom Tov Acharon Shel Chag? The last day of Chag. Okay? Amalo, Rabbi Yoshua says, Rabbi Yoshua, Ho'il ven Geshamim Ela Siman Klala B'Chag. Since the Geshamim is only going to be a Siman Klala in the Chag, right? When you come and you're going to ask for rain during Sukkot, is that a good thing or a bad thing? It's a Klala. It's a Siman Klala. So Lamo Maskir. So why are you going to mention it all? Amalo Rabbi Eliezer says, Rabbi Eliezer, Afani lo amarti lishol ela laskir. I also didn't say to ask for it. I just said to mention it, meaning nobody ever told you say the 10 talamatali bracha, which is to ask for rain. We're just saying, Mashiv Baruch Hu Geshem is you're praising Hashem, that Hashem praises. Remember, the first three berachot in Amidah is not considered bakashot. It's birkat ha-shevach, right? Birkat Hashem means it's a praise to Hashem. The middle blessings are berachot, which we ask for things, bakashot, and the last three are hoda'ah, where we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, obviously, there's going to be differences. So he says like this. He says, when we mention Mashiv Baruch Hu Geshem Borato, Amarlo, so he comes and he says, if so, Leolam Yeh Maskir. You should always mention it. Yeah, you should always mention it. Okay? Nekuda. Now we're starting the next part in the Mishnah. En shoalim et hageshamim lesamuch legeshamim. When do you actually start saying v'ten tolmat livrecha? You start saying it when samuch legeshamim, close to the time when behemet it's going to rain. Rabbi Yehuda says, somebody that's going to come in front of the teva to be shliach tzibur, Yom Tov Acharon Shel Chag, on the last day of Chag, Hacharon Maskir Arishon, right? Eno Maskir. The last one is going to mention it. What's the last one? Musaf. Musaf is going to mention it. The first one that he's shown, which is going to be Shachrit, is not going to mention it. Okay? And then when it says Yom Tov, that's going to be Yom Tov Acharon Shel Chag, Maskir Arishon Maskir. Yom Tov Arishon Shel Pesach. On the first day of Pesach, he comes and he says that Arishon Maskir, Ha'acharon Eno Maskir. He comes and he says the first one is going to mention it, right? And this last one is not going to mention it. What does that mean? The first one is going to come and he's going to mention it. Is going to be the entire concept of what's Arishon? Shachrit. So Shachrit, you're going to mention Mashiv Baruch Hu Geshem, and Musaf, you're not going to mention it. That was the Mishnah on Bet Amud Aleph. Says the Gemara. Tana Hechakai Diktani Mematai. Where is this Tana that we're coming and we're going to try to learn Me'ematai? From when do we come and we're going to say Mashiv Baruch Hu Geshem, right? What does it mean? Is a very simple question. At the end of the day, remember that whenever the Gemara is going to come and mention to you halacha, you have to first know where does it come from, and then afterwards you're going to know when do you mention it. So, for example, this exact same question was asked in Masechta Berachot. The Bet Amud Aleph, the Gemara says, "Me'matai konin Shema b'Aravin." From when are you going to come and you're going to read Kriyat Shema in the nighttime, right? And then we have the three different opinions over there. Misha shakonim nechasim lecho b'tumatan, chachamim omrim chatzot, Gamliel omer al amud hashachar. So basically, you have three different opinions there. There, the Gemara asks the exact same question. What's the question? If I'm going to tell you from when do you have to start mentioning it, you have to first tell me where do you know that you have to mention it at all. And then you could tell me from when do you know. First tell me, you have to mention after mentioning, after telling me you have to say it, now tell me when. So Tana Heichakai Diktani Mematai, answers the Gemara, Tana Hatankai. We learned it over there. Diktani, but we learned in a Braita. Maskirin Givurot Geshamim Tchiyat HaMetim. We're going to mention Givurot Geshamim and Tchiyat HaMetim. Veshoalin Bikat HaShanim. And we're going to ask in Bikat HaShanim. Vehavdala Bechonen Adat. Havdala in Chonen Adat. Uktani, and we learned, when are we going to come? We're going to learn Givurot Geshamim, right? Which means that the Gemara is actually going back on Masechet Berachot. On Masechet Berachot, right? It's actually brought down the what? In Masechta Berachot, we learn there's an obligation to say that Mashiv Ruach Moni the Geshem. Because it says over there, it says Maskirin Gevurot Geshamim B'Tchiyat HaMetim. So therefore, if it's already mentioned in Masechta Berachot that you have to actually come and you have to mention it, so we say, so the Gemara asks, fine. So then why don't we learn it over there? Over there, we should come and we should learn it. Learn it over there. Why are you going to wait until over here? Right? So he says, you're right. Our Tana, our author, is coming back from Rosh Hashanah, which means like this: the previous Masechet, according to the way that they had it, obviously, was Rosh Hashanah. Before Taanit is not Rosh Hashanah, but the way that they had it was Rosh Hashanah. And therefore, since they had it first Rosh Hashanah, and then they had Taanit, so therefore it's one following the other. Because over there we learned it's none. We learned over there that there's going to be 4 Rashi Shanim. There's going to be 4 Rosh Hashanahs. Chag is Rosh Hashanah. What is Chag Rosh Hashanah on? Chag is a Rosh Hashanah of what? Of Mayim, on water. So therefore, since the Chag, right, since Sukkot is the Rosh Hashanah of water, so therefore, right, once you're already going to tell me that we're going to be judged on water, we're going to mention the praises of water, right? For example, a child wants to come and he wants his father to buy him a car. So what does he do? He says, Papa, can you order me an Uber? Papa, can you take me this? Papa, he starts reminding the father until the father clicks and he says, you know what, maybe Bemet, he needs a car. He's not going to ask for a car. If he asks for the car, the Papa is going to shoot him down, right? So what does he do? He comes and he starts giving like hints. It's not good right now to come and to mention it, but rather I'm going to come and I'm going to hint it. So Uve Chag, on Chag, which is Sukkot, we are going to be judged on water. So since we're going to be judged on water during Sukkot, we come and we mention the entire concept of rain. So we praise HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mashiv Baruch Hu Geshem. You come and you bring the Geshem. So says the Gemara, once you already mentioned the Chag, you're going to be judged in the water. Tana Mematai Maskirin Gevurot Geshem. We're going to mention Mematai. We're going to ask why, from where do we have to mention it from? So one more time, which means that not on Sukkot, because we're not asking, but we are just mentioning. Okay? Very good. Next, says the Gemara, Velitni me matai maskirin ala geshamim, my gevurot geshamim. Yeah? The question is, why do we mention gevurot geshamim? Just say ala geshamim. What is gevurot? Gevurot means strength. Why do you say strength? He says, why does it mention gevurot geshamim? Just say me matai maskirin ala geshamim. When you're going to mention on the rain, why does it call it gevurot geshamim? Now, we already know the answer of gevurot, because at the end of the day, gevurot is what? Is strength. The second bracha of Amidah, what is it called? The second bracha. The first bracha. What's called the first bracha? Birkat Avot. Birkat Avot. Second one? Birkat Gvura. It's written Gvura. Why? The entire concept of Mechayim Metim is Gvura. Rain is Gvura. We mentioned this a lot of times in the past, if you remember, that we mentioned that just like by Mechayim Metim, we said that what happens is that the person passes away, and then what happens is after he passes away, to do Tchiyat HaMetim, you need strength to come and to revive them. So too the rain is the exact same thing. The rain, what it does is that when you put a seed in the ground, it becomes annulled, it becomes bad, it becomes rotten, and after it becomes rotten, that's when HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to the rain and it revives it. And that's exactly what happens to a child, right? In order for a fetus to become born, what happens? The semen will come and will revive itself in order to become, right, to fertilize the egg. So therefore comes the rabbis and they say over here, this is called gevurot. Now the question is, how do we know that it's called gevurot? How do we know that it's called strength? Okay? So he comes and he says like this. He says like this. Yeah? So he comes and he says like this. He says, right, like this. He says, Velitni me'ematai maskirina legeshamim. My gevurot geshamim. What does it mean when it says gevurot geshamim? What's gevurot geshamim? So he says like this. He says, Am Rabbi Yochanan, because it comes down with gvura. What does it mean? It comes down with strength. And the fact that it's coming down with strength, that's why it's called gevurot geshamim. Okay? Fine. Shneimar, how do we know? It says in the pasuk. Where's the pasuk? Mordechai, you see the pasuk? Yeah, Remy, where's the pasuk? Yeah? The pasuk says, עושה גדולות עד אין חקר, ונפלאות עד אין מספר. What does that mean? You're going to do gedolot. What does it mean, gedolot? Ad en cheker. Yeah, he comes and he says like this. You're going to do עושה gedolot ad en cheker, right? וכתיב, and it's written, right? Right? עושה גדולות עד אין חקר, ונפלאות עד אין מספר. So what does that mean? עושה גדולות עד אין חקר ואין מספר. וכתיב, and it says, הנותן מתן על פני הארץ, ושולם מים על פני חוצות. So says, since it mentions gedolot, and it says niflaot, one more time. Ose gedolot ad en cheker. You're doing gedula, right? Gedula. And then it says, ose gedolot v'niflaot. If you have niflaot and gedolot. Now the Gemara is going to ask, 1 second. My mashma, where do you see gedula? You have gedula. You have niflaot. Gedula is greatness. Right? Niflaot are wonders. But where do you have gvurot? Gvurot is strength. Where do you have gvurot there? Right? One more time. It says, Oseh gedolot ad en cheker, ונפלאות עד המספר. וכתיב, and it's written, הנותן מטר על פני הארץ, ושולח מים על פני חוצות. You're going to come and you're going to send, right? You're going to put the rain, right? על פני הארץ, ושולח מים על פני חוצות. My mashma, what is it coming to teach you? So, Amar Rabba bar Shila, says Rabba bar Shila, he comes and he says, Atya cheker cheker, mbriato shel olam. He comes and he says, Cheker, Cheker, from Briato Shel Olam. What does that mean? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, he created the world, and it also said the word Cheker. Yeah? It said also Cheker. He says, why? It says, K'tiva, Cha'oseh Gedolot Aden Cheker, U'K'tivata, Melo Yadata, Im Lo Shemata, Elokei Olam Hashem Borek Etzot Haaretz Lo Yaf Lo Yiga, Ad Cheker Litzvunato, U'K'tiv, Mechin Anoim Bekocho, Nezah Bikura, which means this. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, what does it say? Halo Yadata. Yeah, it's a song. You know the song, no? Halo Yadata. Huh? He also knows the song. Halo Yadata. He says what? You don't know. Halo Shamata. You didn't hear. Elokei Olam, the God of the world. Hashem. Borek etzot haaretz. He created the corners of the world. Lo yi'af velo yiga. He will not be tired, and he's not going to be toiling. And Hechal litzvunato, we cannot understand, we cannot comprehend his understanding, his wisdom. Uchtiv, and it's written, Mechin harim bekocho, he prepares the mountains with his strength. Nezah bigvura, he girdles himself with givura. What is givura? With strength. So therefore, just and that pasuk is where? No, Mechin harim bekocho nezah bigvura. Mordechai, where's the pasuk? Huh? מכין הרים בכוחו נזר בגבורה. No. You haven't. חזק וברוך. מכין הרים. כן, 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 כן. אני מכין הרבה דברים פה. Yeah? אבל זה בתת מודע. Yeah, which means like this. So if you would pay attention, you finger on the place. From Beta Mudalev towards the bottom. Very good. Right? He comes and he says like this. No, it cannot be Kuf Mem Zayin and Tilim. Yeah? Where's the Tilim with Kuf Mem Zayin? Tilim Samechei Zayin. You cannot be Kuf Mem Zayin. You know why I said right away it was incorrect. Kuf Mem Hey until then is Asher Yoshevetecha until then. We don't say this. Yeah? Yeah? One more time. Yeah, everyone is very careful. One more time. Yeah, we're saying like this. To do with the creation of the world, to do with Briat HaOlam, it was written, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it was written there, Cheker. What does that mean? We cannot understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu when he created the world. There it says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Mechin harim bekocho, nezar bigvura. He prepared the mountains with his koach, and he girdled himself with gvura. So therefore, you see from here that gvura was written where? Was written by Cheker. But where was that written? By Briato Shel Olam, from the creation of the world. So therefore, we come and we say Cheker, Cheker. We're saying just like by Briat HaOlam, we mention Cheker, and there it's written Givura, and it's written Cheker by rain, even though by rain it only said Gedolot and Niflaot. We are coming and we're saying that it's what? that is actually going to be givurot as well. And that's why we call givurot geshamim. Because the givurah, it's mamash, it's givurah. Very good. Next, says the Gemara. It says, umenalan tefillah. How do we know that we have to do tefillah? Meaning, how do we know that we have to mention it in tefillah? How do we know they have to mention it in tefillah? Mention it whenever you want. Right now, how do you know you have to say it in tefillah? You understood? Very good. Says the doctor, pay attention. What does that mean? What does that mean? We know that whenever we have avodah shebalev, what is the avodah which is in the heart? The ikad is in the heart. The ikad is not the mouth. Whether you're going according to the Zohar HaKadosh, you're not supposed to actually take something out of your mouth. You're only just supposed to move your lips. Or whether you're talking about even according to the halacha, but everyone knows that the ikad of tefillah is avodah shebalev. It's your heart. Everything's in the heart, right? So he comes and he says, since it's written over there, which means you have to come and you have to put your heart to it. How do you put your heart to it? You're going to pray avodah shebalev. Immediately afterwards, what's the next pasuk right after? Since right after avodah shebalev, the next pasuk it's written, right? We learn from there that the juxtaposition, the hekesh. A second ago we learned gzera shava. What's a gzera shava? No, gzera shava is not juxtaposition. Gzera shava is one word here, one word there. From briato shel olam and rain. Very good. Now we're learning hekesh. What's a hekesh? Juxtaposition. What's a juxtaposition? With proximity, when you have two things brought close to each other. From the fact that it says, you have to serve Hashem with your heart, tefillah, and the next pasuk it says, you're going to give the rain. We have to pray for rain in the avodah shebetefillah, in the avodah shebalev, in the amidah. So that's how we know that we're supposed to pray for rain in the amidah. Next, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan. Gimel maftecho biyado shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There are three keys in the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu shelon nisiru biyad shaliach that were not given to the hands of a shaliach. And these are the three. Mafteach shel geshamim, mafteach shel chaya, mafteach shel tchiyat hametim. The key of geshamim, the key of chaya, of birth, and the key of tchiyat hametim. So if you remember last time we learned the Bach switched the order. He first put the mafteach shel chaya, because first the person has to be born. After being born, then he needs the geshamim for parnasah. And after the parnasah, then he's going to have the tchiyat hametim. Okay, now if you do remember though, we also learned the machloka between Rashi and Tosafot, that what does it mean that there were three keys that were never given to a human being, that they're in the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Hello, Eliyahu Navi did tchiyat hametim. How many times? Yeah, how many times did Eliyahu Navi do tchiyat hametim? One time. Chazak Baruch. Elisha Navi?
2 times.
2 times. Chazak, he's on fire.
On the roll.
How do you know?
I remember.
You know that Elisha Hanavi asked his Rabbi Eliyahu that if he could come and he could actually have double the nisim that happened to Eliyahu, that it would happen to him. And actually, because of that, he actually had the double. So Eliyahu Navi, again, what's recorded, because maybe he did much more, but what's recorded is that he did 1 time tchiyat hametim, and Elisha Navi did twice tchiyat hametim. That's recorded. Okay? So, and also giving birth. You have the Shunamit. You have many times that they came and they were able to give birth. So the question, which means that they come and they were given a key in order that they should be able to give birth. So what does that mean? So Rashi says, what does it mean it wasn't given? They weren't given to the same, to the shliach, to one shliach together. All three together weren't given to the same shliach. But, which means that sometimes you have, or Tosafot comes and he wants to say that really Be'emet, it was never given once. Which, what does that mean? Forever. Which means, for example, Hashem gives you the key of Tchiyat HaMetim. After a few minutes, he comes and he says, you know what, give it back to me. You want to give rain? Give it back to me. Here's the key of the rain. You want to give it back to me? I'll give you the key of giving birth. Right? Which means that it was never given in one time, right? All together. Okay? That's the difference between Rashi and Tosafot. Now we're going to bring the different psukim. Right? It says in the psukim as follows. How do we know? Right? Mafteach shel geshamim dichtiv יפתח השם לך את אוצרו הטוב, את השמיים, לאתם את ארצך בעיתו. What does that mean? You're going, Kadosh Baruch Hu will open up the storage houses for you, for good, right? לאתם את ארצך בעיתו, to give the rain in the proper time. של חיה, from birth, how do we know? Because it's written, ויזכור אלוהים את רחל, וישמע אליה, Kadosh Baruch Hu remembered Rachel, and he's going to remember her, ויפתח את רחמן, he's going to open up her womb. מפתח של תחיית המתים. How do we know מפתח של תחיית המתים? Because it's written, וידעתם כי אני השם יבחיר קברותיכם. You're going to remember that I'm Hashem when I'm going to open up your kevers. במערב they actually added on a fourth key. What's the fourth key? The fourth key is מפתח של פרנסה. The מפתח of פרנסה. Right? דכתיב, as it's written, פותח את ידיך מזבח לצאן. So therefore, it's a fourth key. It's not 3 keys, it's 4 keys. Capish? 4 keys. How do you remember the 4 keys? Mafteach. What's a key in Hebrew? Mafteach. How do you remember mafteach? Mafteach, right? You have it. Matar, right? Parnasa, tchiyat hametim, haya. Those are going to be the 4 different keys. Mafteach. That's how to remember. More than that, when you take the psukim, and you take every single one of those psukim, when you come and you add all the words together, in the first pasuk, you had Yiftach Hashem lecha totzero tov, 23 words. The pasuk of Poteach et yedecha masbelech haletzon, 7 words. Vayizkor Elokim et Rachel, 10 words. Vidatem ki ani Hashem, 11 words, equals 51. There are 51 words in the bracha of Tchiyat HaMetim. You heard? 51 words in the bracha of Tchiyat HaMetim. I want you to count it, yeah? Yeah, you're going to count them. You're going to tell me how many there are. Yeah? 51 words. Why? Because we just learned right now. Okay? Now, somebody incorrectly said before that it's the same one. According to the Eretz Israel, right, Parnasa, right, is not the same one as Matar. They're 2 separate ones. That's according to Eretz Israel, because if not, why do they have another one? But we asked the question on Rabbi Yochanan, but he'll not know this because he just left. Right? But we asked the question on Rabbi Yochanan. According to Rabbi Yochanan, why didn't he learn the one of Parnasah? So Rabbi Yochanan, my time, Amar lecha, Rabbi Yochanan's going to answer to you that Geshamim is the Parnasah. That means according to Rabbi Yochanan, Selamim Shos, right? Parnasah and Matar is a bit yukotodovar. It's the exact same thing. That's according to Rabbi Yochanan. But according to Eretz Yisrael, they didn't learn that way. Because in Eretz Yisrael, they had 4 different keys. They said there are 4 keys in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? Until here, we're clear. Chazak Baruch. Next, 2 dots. Rabbi Eliezer Omer. If you remember, we learned the Machloket. Rabbi Eliezer Omer, Miyom Tov Arishon Shel Chag. What does it mean now that we come and we say that from the first day of Chag? Iba Elehu. So we're going to come and we're going to ask a question. Rabbi Eliezer Meheicha Gamila. From where does Rabbi Eliezer learn this from? What does that mean? From where does Rabbi Eliezer learn this from? Right? At the end of the day, Rabbi Eliezer, what did he say? When do we mention Mashiach Baruch Geshem? Rabbi Eliezer? First day. How does he learn it from? Meicha Gamila. Yeah. Milulav Gamala. Does he learn it from Lulav or Minisuch HaMayim? Right? Does he learn it from Lulav or from Nisuch HaMayim? Why? When do you take the Lulav? First day of Chag. When do you do Nisuch HaMayim? The first night of Chag. You could even do it by nighttime. We're going to see now. Okay? So does he learn it from Lulav or from Nisuch HaMayim? Gamalav Lulav. Do you say that we learn it right from the Lulav? Right? He says, just like Ma Lulav Bayom, just like Lulav is going to be during the day. Right? So he comes and he says, Apa Askara Bayom. So to Askara is going to be during the day. Meaning, just like Netilat Lulav B'day, Haskara B'day. O Dilma, or maybe we're going to say, Minisuch HaMayim Gamala. You're going to learn it from Nisuch HaMayim. Ma Nisuch HaMayim Me'orta, just like Nisuch HaMayim you could do at nighttime. Daman Muzmor says, Umi Chatam Niskehem. What does it mean? Chatam Niskehem Afilu Balayla, even during the nighttime. Apaskara Me'orta. So to here, it's also going to be during the nighttime. So Tashema, so we're going to come and bring a proof. Ta'amar Rabbi Avhu. Says Rabbi Avhu. Lo limda Rabbi Eliezer ela milulav. He learned it from Lulav. I mean, you're going to ask from where? From Lulav. Ika de'am Rabbi Avhu gemara gemina. Some people say that she learned it from a gemara, which means that he had a tradition. That means he had a tradition going down that this is what happens. Ika de'am, and some people say matrita shmiale. That he actually learned it from a braita. Why? What is a braita? The Tanya. Mematai maskirin ala geshamim. Did you guys realize that here it's written ala geshamim? Doesn't say givurot geshamim. Me'matay maskirin ala geshamim. When are you going to mention geshamim? Right? Rabbi Eliezer says nishat netila lulav, from the time of the lulav. Right? What does Rabbi Yoshua say? Nishat anachato. What did Rabbi Yoshua say in the Mishnah? When do you start saying Mashiach Baruch Hu Geshem? Which day? On the 8th day, right? Right? So he comes and he says, right? Yeah, he comes and he says like this. He says, right? What happens? Nishat anachato. So you remember we had a machloket. What does it mean exactly? Nishat Rabbi Yoshua. Does Rabbi Yoshua mean Nishat anachato when he puts down the lulav in the throat? When do you put down the lulav in the throat? You put it down when? On Hoshana Rabbah. Hoshana Rabbah, you come and you put down the lulav in the throat. So does it mean already from the nighttime of, right? The nighttime of Shemini Atzeret, right? Because that's actually the shita of the way that they actually learned of Yoshua in the Braita, okay? Or are you going to say that really be'emet, it's the next morning, which that was Rabbi Yoshua of the Mishnah. So it's not low, it's 100% correct. Which means Rabbi Yoshua of the Braita comes and he says, Nishat anachato is really going to be probably the nighttime. When is it going to be the nighttime? The nighttime of Shmini Atzeret. In the nighttime. When did you put down the lulav in the throat? You put it down right 5 minutes, 10 minutes before Shekiyah, because now you can't do it anymore. So now you're going to do it. From the Mishnah, it said that last day, right? Which is usually probably during the day, because also the Rabbi Eliezer in the Mishnah was talking about during the day. So therefore, that's how it makes sense over there. Fine. So says the Gemara, Nishat anachato. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer, since these 4 species come, these 4 species are coming to convince HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we need water. Why are they coming to convince HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we need water? It says, because you cannot have these 4 species without water. So too, the world cannot come without water, which means like this. We purposely took 4 species, which are the Arbat Minim, that each one of these 4 species need a lot of water. And by having a lot of water, we're going to come and serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu with it. We're going to hint HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need mine. We need water. Why do we need water? Because if we're not going to have water, so then we can't do the Arbat Minim. So even the Arbat Minim itself is a hint to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we need water. Okay? So Amarlo Rabbi Yoshua, so says Rabbi Yoshua, one second. You already want to start coming and mentioning Mashiach Baruch Hu Geshem on the first day of Yom Tov, on the first day of Sukkot. It's a curse. Imagine right now, you're going to come into your sukkah and a sha'ata comes, right? It's raining cats and dogs, right? It's going to become a thing. What's going to happen? It rains. What's going to happen? You're going to say, Aywa, that's a klala, right? Everyone knows that's a klala. So he says, so what's it mean? So Amalo Rabbi Eliezer says Rabbi Eliezer. Which one? Amalo Rabbi Eliezer says Rabbi Eliezer. I never told you to ask for rain, right? I told you to mention rain. What does it mean mention? Remember, as we mentioned at the beginning, Geshem is not a bakasha. It's a shevach. It's a praise. It's not asking. When do you ask for rain? When you say v'ten tal umatar, that's asking for rain, because those are the brachot you're asking. But Mashiach Baruch Hu Geshem, you're not asking for rain. You're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Praising. Remember, shevach, birkat shevach, the first 3 blessings in the Amidah, birkot shevach. You're praising HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're not asking for anything. So it says el laskir uchshem shetchiyat hametim maskir kol kula. So he comes and he says this. I didn't tell you to actually come and ask. Right? I told you to mention it. And Tchiyat HaMetim, you do mention it all the entire year. So he says, but it's only in the proper time. Meaning like this. Tchiyat HaMetim. Right? Tchiyat HaMetim. Do you mention it every single day?
Yeah. Yes.
Every single day. Every single day. You mention it in Amidah. Baruch Hashem echayeh metim. When's it going to come? In its proper time. It's not going to come all the time. It comes in its proper time. Yeah? So therefore, if it's going to come in the proper time, why do you always mention it? Because whenever it is. So he says, right? And therefore, according to Shitat Rabbi Eliezer, according to Rabbi Eliezer, if you're going to say Mashiach Baruch Hu Geshem the entire year, you could say it. There's no problem. Because at the end of the day, you're only mentioning it. You're not asking for rain. So mention it. What's the big deal? Of course, we do it the entire time. Rabbi Omer, Rabbi says, Omer ani misha shemafsik l'she'ela, kach l'azkara. He says, no. When you stop mentioning, right, the ten Talamata Libracha, you're going to stop mentioning also Mashiach Baruch Hu Megeshem. That means when you stop asking, you stop mentioning. That's the Shita of Rabbi. Okay? Nekuda. Now we're going to continue. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera comes and he says, B'sheni b'chag u'maskir, you're going to mention Mashiach Baruch Hu Megeshem on the second day of Yom Tov. Right? Rabbi Akiva says, B'shishi, on the sixth day, right, of Yom Tov. Right? Rabbi Yehuda, Mishum Rabbi Yoshua Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Yoshua. Now, if you remember, pay attention. In our Mishnah, this was brought down as Rabbi Yehuda Omer.
About the second part.
Right? Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Not in the name of anybody else. Yeah. Rabbi Yehuda. Now, all of a sudden, it says Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yoshua. Haomer lifnei ateva b'yom tov. What did he say?
They're referring to the second part of Sukkot. That's why they're saying the second day.
No, second day of Sukkot. We're going to see it in 1 minute. Yeah? So he says like this. Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Yoshua. Haover lifnei ateva b'yom tov ha'acharon shel Chag, ha'acharon maskir, ha'rishon maskir. B'yom tov ha'rishon shel Pesach, ha'rishon maskir, ha'acharon maskir. Which means like this. Basically, again, the exact same thing that we learned in the beginning of the Mishnah, but there was only Rabbi Yehuda. Now it's Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi, right? Now it's Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yoshua. He comes and he says, the one on Musaf of Shemini Atzeret, he's going to say Mashiach Baruch Hu Megeshem. Shacharit, which is the Rishon, the first one, he doesn't say Mashiach Baruch Hu Megeshem. And on Pesach, it's the exact opposite. On Pesach, when do we change? Right? When do we change? On the first day of Pesach. So the first day of Pesach, when you're going to do Morida Tal, so the Shachrit still says Mashiach Baruch Hu Megeshem, and the Musaf now says Morida Tal. So that's why it was the exact opposite of what we mentioned here. Okay? So now,
where does the Maita end?
So he says like this. He says, Shapir Kamel Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yoshua. Says 1 second. Rabbi Eliezer said something incredible to Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Eliezer was right. He brought a proof from Tchiyat HaMetim. What was the proof from Tchiyat HaMetim? Yeah? The proof is that at the end of the day, you have a case here where every single day you're mentioning Tchiyat HaMetim, even though you don't need it. Tchiyat HaMetim is only going to be in the proper time. So why are you mentioning it now? Why in the world are you mentioning it? And then Mitzad Sheni, though, right? You have Rabbi Eliezer saying, Geshamim is the same thing. So mention it all the time. So he was correct. What does he want from Rabbi Yoshua? Amalecha Rabbi Yoshua. Rabbi Yoshua is going to tell you, Bishlema Tchiyat HaMetim, it's good Tchiyat HaMetim, Maskir, Tekule Yom Azmanehu. He comes and he says, Tchiyat HaMetim, the entire time, it's the Zman. What does that mean? Right now, can Tchiyat HaMetim come?
Yes.
Yes.
Anytime.
Why can it come? Anytime. Why? First comes Mashiach, and then Tchiyat HaMetim. Or if you remember when we learned it already, we said that there's going to be a Tchiyat HaMetim before the Mashiach. There's a famous Ritba. That the first Tchiyat HaMetim is going to be the Tzadikim. The Tzadikim Gemurim, they will come up for Tchiyat HaMetim. And they will see the Mashiach. And then Mashiach is going to come. And after the Mashiach being here, and we don't know how long, then there's going to be a second Tchiyat HaMetim. But that second Tchiyat HaMetim,
they didn't die,
no, nothing
They
to do with it. That's physically.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, they're going to come back again. That's the concept of Tchiyat HaMetim. So he says, because of that, Tchiyat HaMetim, you could mention it, because the entire time it's the proper time. Ela geshamim, but rain, kol ema de'atian zmanayhui. Are you going to tell me that whenever it's going to rain, it's going to be something good? It's not something good every single time it's going to rain. It says why? But now we learned in the Mishnah, Yatsa Nisan yardu geshamim. If right now Nisan came and now it starts raining, siman klalahim. It's a siman klala. So you see from here, if it rains during the summertime, it's actually a klala. Shneimar, but it says in a pasuk, right? The pasuk actually says, Halo ketzir chitim hayom. What does that mean, Halo ketzir chitim hayom? Which means that he says over here, right, that the entire concept of that Shemuel HaNavi, right? Shemuel HaNavi comes and he's asking in front of people and he's trying to actually punish them. So he tells them, you guys were praying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to bring you down rain, right? During the time of the katzir of the reaping, he comes and he says, but it's a siman klala. Why do you want rain in the middle of the summer? Rain in the middle of the summer is actually a klala.
That's what happened here. Every summer it rains.
No, here it's the opposite. Nothing to do with it.
When it rains here in Miami.
It doesn't, we're not talking about in the different seasons,
No.
right? So obviously it depends. Every single place is different seasons. Okay? Fine. Now we're going back to what we mentioned right before. Okay? Says the Gemara. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says, yeah? He comes and he says like this. Yeah? Yeah? So listen. Siyag la'chokhmah shtika. Yeah? He comes and he says like this. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera Omer. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera comes and he says, why do we start on the second day? Remember, in our Mishnah, we have two opinions. We have Rabbi Eliezer, which is going to be the first day, and Rabbi Yoshua, the 8th day. Okay, now we have all of a sudden Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera says the second day. What second day? What happened on the second day? Right? So he comes and he says, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera omer b'sheni b'chag u'maskir. Why are you going to mention the second day? He says, what's the reason Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera? Says the Tanya was learned in a Braita. The Braita says, the Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera omer, ne'emar b'sheni v'niskehem, v'ne'emar b'shishi u'nsachea, v'ne'emar b'shvi'i k'mishpatam. So I'll read it out. The Baal Koreh will be able to tell you, right, that the way is like this. In the parashiot of Sukkot, we have Bayom Rishon, which is going to be the first day of Sukkot. Then you have all the days of Sukkot, and then you have Bayom HaShemini, which is Shmini Atzeret, right? Bayom HaShemini Atzeret, right? It's going to be Shmini Atzeret. Now, in the days there, it's all written V'niskah, right? Each one says V'niskah. The first day, V'niskah. Second day, it says V'niskehem. V'niskehem with a mem. Hey mem, but V'niskehem, oh, you already had the hey out of the yod, but V'niskehem. Okay, interesting. V'niskehem. Okay. Next, fast forward. V'niskah, V'niskah. You have the third day, fourth day, fifth day. Comes the sixth day. Unsacheha. Doesn't say V'niskah. You have a yod in between the kaf and the hey. So now it says Unsacheha. Every single day, it was written, right? Kamishpat. Yeah? Kamishpat. All of a sudden, on the seventh day, it says, right? Kamishpatam. So therefore, says the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera comes and he says, right? Remem yod mem. The second day, you have an iskehem. What was extra? The mem. So mem. The sixth day, you had an extra yod, unsacheha, instead of niska. So you have an extra yod. The seventh day, you have an extra mem. Mem yod mem, mine. So therefore he comes and he says, mikan remez nisuch hamayim min Torah. So from here, we have a remez, we have a hint, that nisuch hamayim, that we're going to do a water libation. Water libation is that when we used to come on Sukkot, and we used to bring the sacrifices, we used to put water on the mizbeach. Okay, and he used to go down. That's the water libations, it's Mina Torah. So ask the Gemara, so why the second day? Right? Why are you going to come and you're going to mention it on the second day? Right? Because it's going to be hinted on the second day. So therefore you're going to mention on the second day. Meaning, when did it start the hint? On the second day. So if it started the hint on the second day, so therefore it's going to come and it's going to mention it on the second day. So the second day of Chag, clear? Very good. Rabbi Akiva. What did Rabbi Akiva say? One more time. Rabbi Eliezer said, when do you mention Geshem? First day. Rabbi Yoshua says, eighth day. Eighth day. And again, there's going to be a machloket. Is the night, the day, we'll get to that in a few minutes. Right? Now comes Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera. Rabbi Yehuda ben Betera, second day. And now Rabbi Akiva, sixth day. 6. Why does he say the 6th day now? So says the Gemara, Rabbi Akiva, because when does it say unsacheha? Unsacheha says it on the 6th day. Unsacheha is in plural. Niskah is singular. Unsacheha, plural. So says the Gemara, we're talking about two different nisuchin. What are the two different nisuchin? One of them is nisuch hamayim, one is nisuch hayayin. There's two nisuchim. One of them is a wine libation, and one of them is a water libation, which means many times when you used to bring a korban, you used to bring a korban with wine. So that's called a wine libation. Right? Right? The nesech, right? The nisko yain. And that's why, by the way, you should know, Goyim copied us, because they also bring on the altar wine. And that's why there's a concept of yain nesech. What's yain nesech? Yain nesech is wine that was used for avodah zarah. right? Why? Because they used to use it also. That's what we used to use. We used to use it for the Bet HaMikdash. So they would use it, right, for Avodah Zarah. So it's called Yain Nesech. So Nisko Yain is a wine libation. So he says, since it says Utzacheha, one of them is Nisucha Yain, one of them is Nisucha Mayim. So it's two different ones. Says the Gemara, maybe both of them are wine. So he says, Sabalak Rabbi Yehuda, he holds still like Rabbi Yehuda, right? Ben Betira. At the end of the day, it's still hinted of water. So he says, 1 second, if it's going to be still hinted of water, 3A1. If you're going to tell me that it's mentioned of water, Neima Kivate. So why don't we just say like him? Right? Why doesn't he say like him? That we start on the second day. He says, no, Rabbi Akiva holds when is it written on Nisuch Yitira? On the 6th day. Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Rabbi Natan Omer, Rabbi Natan says, right, this is Rabbi Natan. Bakodesh Hasech Nesech Shechar Ladonai. What does that mean? When we say Bakodesh Hasech Nesech, why do we say Hasech Nesech? It says Bishne Nisuchin HaKatuv Medaber. The Torah is talking about two different Nisuchin also. One of them Nisuch Hamayim, one of them Nisuch Yain. So therefore, the fact that it used Hasech Nesech and it didn't say Hasech Hesech or Nasech Nesech, why did it change the terminology? Hasech Nesech. So he says the fact that it changed it teaches you that there's two different Nisuchim. One of them is a wine libation, one of them is a water libation. Ask the Gemara, why don't we just say that it's going to be wine? So he says, so the Pasuk should have said Hasech Hesech or Nasech Nesech. Maya Sech Nesech. Shema Mina comes teach you Chad Demaya, Chad Dechamra. One of them is water, and one of them is wine.
Wine libation.
Wine libation. Says the Gemara, fine. Elahad Itna, we learned in a Braita, the Mishnah says Nisuch HaMayim Kol Shiva. When do you do Nisuch HaMayim? You do Nisuch HaMayim all 7 days of Sukkot. So who does that go like? Nisuch HaMayim, right? Who does that go like exactly? Kol Shiva. Mani, who is that? Rabbi Yoshua, if it's going to be like Rabbi Yoshua, name Echad. Why not just say it's 1 day? If it's Rabbi Kiva, say it's 2 days. If it's going to be Rabbi Betera, I can say 6 days. Everyone understood the question? One more time. If right now we are going to say that Nisuch HaMayim, what is Nisuch HaMayim? You're putting water on the Mizbeach. It's for all 7 days. Can that be like Rabbi Eliezer? What did Rabbi Eliezer say? When do you start saying Mashiach? First day. So can it be Rabbi Eliezer? Of course. Of course it could be Rabbi Eliezer. Chazak u'baruch. So why don't we just say it's Rabbi Eliezer?
What we don't we say?
Why don't we say that this Mishnah is like Rabbi Eliezer?
We said
No. They said it could be Rabbi Eliezer, but we don't want to say it's Rabbi Eliezer because it's too simple. It's too simple of an answer. So we're purposely trying to find out who it is. Right? It's too easy. To say Rabbi Eliezer, that's it. So fine. So let's go order of elimination. You know what elimination is? Right? They used to play elimination. They used to take a ball and they used to throw it. Hit you, hit. And then they used to come and everyone is out. Yeah? No, you were second. Don't worry about it. You right? So they kept on going and then that's it. You're out. And now we eliminate. Let's start eliminating. According to Rabbi Yoshua, what does he say? According to Rabbi Yoshua, when do you say Mashiach Geshem? Rabbi Yoshua. Last day, the 8th day. So 1 second. So if it's going to be the 8th day, so he's going to say that you're going to do it all 7 days.
So it would be 1 day.
Maybe it will be 1 day, but that's it. But not all. So doesn't make sense. It's not Rabbi Yoshua. If it's Rabbi Yehuda Memetera, what does Rabbi Yehuda Memetera say?
Only 6 days.
Right, it's only 6 days. It's not going to be all the days. What about Rabbi Akiva?
2 days.
2 days. But Rabbi Akiva says you mentioned on the 6th day. So 6, so it could only be 2 days, right? So therefore he comes and says, so who's our Mishnah? One more time. Nisuch, right? Elahad Tnan, that which we learned in the Mishnah. Nisuch HaMayim Kol Shiva. Nisuch HaMayim all 7 days. Mani, who is it? Either of Yoshua. If you're going to tell me it's of Yoshua, name Echad Yoma, it's only going to be 1 day. If it's Rabbi Akiva, it's going to be 2 days. And if it's going to be Rabbi Yehuda Memetera, it's going to be 6 days. So answers the Gemara, Le'olam, really be'emet, it's Rabbi Yehuda Memeterahi. It's Rabbi Yehuda Memetera. Usfira like Rabbi Yehuda de Matniti. But he holds like Rabbi Yehuda Mishnah. The Tanah, as we learned in the Mishnah, Rabbi Yehuda Omer belog haya menasech kol shmona, umafik rishon me'ayel shmona. He says, you know what happened? He says, what you're supposed to do is there's going to be a machloket in that Mishnah. How exactly do you do, right? How exactly do you do the Nisuch HaMayim? How do you do it? How much do you have to use? So the machloket was, would you use, right, a log or 3 login? 1 log or 3 login? Just to understand what is a log, when I always tell you guys you have to drink a ravit, what's a ravit?
It's like 1 egg.
How much is it?
4 ounces.
26 grams. I mean, more or less.
No.
It's not 4 ounces.
12 ounces.
It's not 12 ounces. What did you say?
26 grams. 25 grams.
No, that's a kazait.
The same thing.
No.
Water in grams.
Water, how much? It's
Water
not the same
in grams.
liquid, but it's not the same.
Milliliters.
Milliliters, how much?
86.
86 milliliters. Numerical value of kos. Kos is 86 cc, 86 milliliters, which is around it's around 3, right? 3 ounces,
3.2,
right?
not
It's around 3 ounces, 3.1 ounces, it's around 3 ounces. But when we talk about the shita of the Chazon Ish, it's kos hagun, it's 150 milliliters, which is actually going to be 5.2 ounces. Okay, so it's a little bit more than just the 5, right? It's a 5.2 ounces, okay? Very good. Now what happens is as follows. What I just told you, a ravit, what's a ravit? A ravit of a log.
Of a log.
Of a log. So what, because you're calling it a ravit, what's a ravit? A quarter. A quarter of what? It's a quarter of a log. So when we just say right now that there's a log, right, a log shemen, so 1 log is 4 times that amount. So if you hold the ravit is 86 cc, right? So it's 86 times 4, right? But if you're going to tell me that it's 150, it's 150 times 4, but that's 1 log. So if I'm going to tell you right now that they used to use 1 log of wine or 1 log of water on the mizbeach, so you're not talking about 86 cc, which is around this, which is a third of the cup. We're talking about 4 times that. So it's much more. If you're going to tell me it's 3 login, that's even times 3. You understand? Even after that, okay? If we just keep it very, very simple, right? We don't paskin like the Chazon Ish, but I'll just keep it very simple, just that way it's easier. 150, right, times 4, 600. So 600 milliliters is 1 log according to the Chazon Ish. 600 milliliters. Okay, so that's how much of 1 log of water that you would have to come and you would have to use it. Okay, but now according to that's around 500.
Yeah, that's 500.
That's 500. Okay, so 600, a little bit more.
Little
Okay,
more than
so one second. So now, if according to the Chazon Ish, that's 1 log, so therefore here there's a machloke between 1 log or 3 login. Okay, very good. Now, there's a lot of people that still go like this. Yes.
When you say
Yes,
Rabbi,
I do it myself.
it's a quarter of what?
What?
When you say Rabbi, 86.
No. What are you talking about? On Pesach, it's only 600 milliliters.
600, yeah.
That's it. It's not even a bottle of wine.
Okay, can you finish by the
150 times 4. Exactly. So it's not even a bottle of wine.
Yeah, Rabbi, but can you finish by the wine by yourself?
Okay. So therefore, he comes and he says, if you're going to tell me now it's a Rabbi Yehuda holds like Rabbi Yehuda of the Mishnah, where he says, Beloga ya menasech, kol shmona, umapik rishon me'en. He's going to take out the first day and add the 8th day. So says the Gemara, why are you going, Maishna rishon delo, why are you going to take away the first day? And the chiremize mayim b'sheni u'deremize, because you're going to tell me now that it's going to be hinted on the second day, shmini nami chiremize mayim b'shvi u'deremize, which means like this, is there any svara, is there any logic that the 8th day is better than the first day?
What will they say?
Is there any svara to logic to say that the 8th day, which is Shmini Atzeret, is better than the first day of Sukkot or not? No. Why?
No.
On the second day was the Niskehem. On the 6th day was Unsacheha. On the 7th day was Kamishpatam. So the entire concept of mine was not on the first day and not on the 8th day. So why in the world would you take away the first day to put the 8th day? The 8th day also wasn't mentioned anything. So why am I going to I'm going to take out the first to put the 8th? Why? So he comes and he says, you're right. But rather, right, he comes and he says, you're right. Ela Rabbi Yoshua, it's not Rabbi Yehuda Memetera. It's Rabbi Yoshua. B'nisuch hamayim kol shiva ilchata gemirle. B'nisuch hamayim all 7 days is halacha l'Moshe Sinai. Halacha l'Moshe Sinai means that sometimes we had halacha l'Moshe Sinai, which means we learned it from Moses. We learned it halacha l'Moshe Sinai. We have a tradition going back until we got to Moshe. Yeah? Moshe ben Mergi or Moshe Rabbeinu? Moshe Rabbeinu.
El que está al lado tuyo.
Moshe Rabbeinu.
El que está al lado
It
tuyo.
continues going up. And once it goes up to Moshe Rabbeinu, there's nothing what to ask.
Meaning it's not even mentioned in the psukim or the hinted.
No. Halakha Moshe Sinai is not mentioned in the Psukim.
And not
They
hinted.
accept it as a tradition. That's called Halakha Moshe Sinai. So therefore, once you learn it like that, so therefore you can't really ask different questions. Why? This is what they accepted. Now, why is in question? Halakha Moshe Sinai. So he says, Damar Rabbi Yami, he says Rabbi Yami, name of Yochanan, and the name of Rabbi Chuya, Yishbikat Bechutan, Eser Netiyot, when you have 10 saplings, right? Arava, right? We're just talking about the 10 saplings when you're going to come and you're going to plant them. So you're allowed to actually plant it until, yes, right? Until the Rosh Hashanah. Usually you could only do it until 30 days before Rosh Hashanah Shemitah, right? But when you have these Eser Netiyot and a Bet Kur, which is basically all these trees in such a small area, you're allowed to continue plowing and doing everything until Rosh Hashanah itself of the Shemitah. That's an Eser Netiyot. Arava. Arava was the mitzvah of Arava that they used to do in the Beit HaMikdash. Remember, what we do on Rosh Hashanah Rabbah was a zecher, was a reminder of what we used to do in the Beit HaMikdash. And the last one in Suchamayim was Elachal Moshe Sinai. Says the Gemara. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Rabbi Yehuda says, Ishum Rabbi Yoshua, in the name of Rabbi Yoshua, Haover lifnei hateva. Somebody that's going to be over lifnei hateva. Biyom tov ha'acharon shel Chag. On the Yom tov ha'acharon of Chag. Ha'acharon maskir, harishon maskir. Biyom tov harishon shel Pesach. Harishon maskir, ha'acharon maskir. Yeah, you with us?
Yeah.
Oh, very good. Okay. Hi, Rabbi Yoshua. What do you think of the place? Yeah? Yeah, he comes and he says like this. Hi, Rabbi Yoshua. Which Rabbi Yoshua? Ilema Rabbi Yoshua de Matnitin. If you're going to tell me now it's Rabbi Yoshua of the Mishnah, Hi Amar Biyom Tov Acharon Shel Chag Maskid. Right? Remember that Rabbi Yoshua said on the last day of the Chag you're going to be Maskid, which is Mashma in the morning. Right? Already for a Shachrit, not for Musa, for Shachrit. Because if Rabbi Eliezer, when Rabbi Eliezer said the first day, what did he have the kavanah for Shachrit? Rabbi Eliezer, when do you do the Netilat Lulav in Musaf?
Right.
Shachrit. Yeah? In Shachrit you do Netilat Lulav. So therefore you mention it in Shachrit. So too, Rabbi Yoshua, when he argues, it's talking about in Shachrit. But it had to be Rabbi Yoshua the Braita. What was Rabbi Yoshua the Braita? He says Mishat Anachato. So here, if you remember, it's already brought down here, Mishat Anachato, Tehainu Ashvi'i, on the 7th day. Right? Or, right, or the 8th day. But whichever one it was. The two, and furthermore, had the time we learned from Yehuda Omer, Nishum ben Betera. Yehuda says the name ben Betera. Havel lifnei hatera v'yom tov ha'acharon shel Chag maskid. Hey ben Betera, which ben Betera? Did you realize in our Mishnah, in the Mishnah it says Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Rabbi Yehuda Omer. Then on Bet Amud Bet it says Rabbi Yehuda says in the name of Rabbi Yoshua. All of a sudden now it says Rabbi Yehuda says the name of ben Betera. Decide, who is it? Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yoshua, Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Ben Betera. Explain, who is it? Which Ben Betera? Who are you talking about? Right? Why? Because Rabbi Yehuda Ben Betera said, on the 2nd day you're going to mention it, not on the 8th day. So Amar Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, says Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, Teheh Rabbi Yoshua Ben Betera, we're going to say it's going to be Rabbi Yoshua Ben Betera, Zimnin dekare le bishmeh, ve'zimnin dekare le bishmeh de Abba. Sometimes you call him in his own name, and sometimes you call him in his father's name. What's the difference? He says, it all depends before he got semicha or after he got semicha. Meaning, before he got semicha, he's ben betera. He's ederai. Now, what does that mean? He's from his father. After he got semicha, now he's already a ben adam chashuv. Now that he's already a ben adam chashuv, now that he's already chashuv, he's Rabbi Yoshua now. He's not anymore Ben Betera, right? He's not anymore Ben Betera, the son of Betera. He's Rabbi Yoshua. Yeah, he became a mandamar. He became a big person. So that's Rabbi Yoshua Ben Betera. Okay, so that's how the Gemara answers it. So therefore, it was all the same person, right? It was Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda in the name of who? Rabbi Yoshua Ben Betera, right? But it wasn't Rabbi Yehuda Ben Betera. It's Rabbi Yehuda in the name of Rabbi Yoshua Ben Betera. But once it said Ben Betera, once it said Rabbi Yoshua. It all depends. Before Semicha, right? It's the same person. It's the exact same person. It looked like two people, but it's the exact same person.
Is that why on some of the older?
The Gemara Tana, we learned in a Braita. The Braita comes and it says as follows: Betal uvaruchot lo chiyevu chachamim laskir. Do you know that you're not obligated to mention tal, and you're not obligated to mention, right? You're not obligated to mention tal or ruchot. What does it mean, tal or ruchot? You don't have to say murida tal. And that's why even if you forgot to mention tal, it's going to be okay. The same thing if you didn't mention mashiva ruach. You just said murida geshen. It's okay. Why? They didn't obligate you to mention nor tal, nor ruach. Tal is a do, and the ruach is a wind. Why? If you do want to mention it, maskid, you could mention it. Why exactly? So he comes and he says like this, right? My time, what's the reasoning? Amar Chanina says because it never stops. Meaning there's always tal. And the fact that there's always tal, there's no problem. We don't have to mention it. But it never stops. You have to mention something that's not always around. So you ask and you try to get the beseech HaKadosh Baruch Hu that he's going to bring it to you. But if something that's always there, you don't have to mention it. Tal menalan. How do we know that tal is not going to be stopped? Right? Tal menalan de lo me'atzad. How do you know tal is not going to be stopped? It says in the pasuk, Vayomer, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Giladi. Yeah, he comes and he says like this. Eliyahu Navi comes and he comes and he says, it says Eliyahu Tishbi, Mitoshavei Gilad. That's why he was also called the Giladi, right? That means he's called Tishbi. And he's also called the Giladi. So he comes and he says like this. So comes and he says to Achav, Chai Hashem Elokei Yisrael asher amati lefanav im yasharim ha'ele tal mata kim nifi dvari. Right, what does that mean? He comes and he took the rain, the key of rain. What does that mean? He comes and he's telling HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he tells Achav, the king, that Achav was a Rasha. He comes and he tells him, Chai Hashem, he's swearing in the name of Hashem. It's not going to rain until I want it to rain. That's what Eliyahu Navi says. Now, Eliyahu Navi has to be a very powerful person to say such a thing, right? Because if not, HaKadosh Baruch Hu just opens up the faucet and it starts raining right now. And then if Eliyahu Navi comes and he says, this is it. That's it. There's nothing more to talk about. And it's written, right? So what happened? He swore there's not going to be talumatan. No talumatan. And all of a sudden it says, go show yourself to Achav and tell him you're going to give rain. So now 1 second. Vilutal, lo kamale. He doesn't say anything about tal. What's going on? Why is it that Eliyahu Navi, he comes and he promises that he's not going to give talumatar, which is dew and rain, and all of a sudden Hashem comes and he tells him, go to Achav and tell him that you're going to give rain. What's going on? The tal, he doesn't mention anything. Why not? My time, what's reasoning? Mishum de la miatzar, because it never stopped. Meaning tal never stops. So you can't stop the tal. So that's the Gemara. So if it doesn't stop, Eliyahu ishtabu Elmaleh. So why does he have to swear? Why in the world are you going to swear that it's not going to have tal if tal never stops? You're always going to have tal. Answers the Gemara, Hachi Kamaleh. This is what it means to say. Afilu tal di bracha na miloati. Even tal of bracha is not going to come. It's not going to have tal of bracha. Right? What does that mean? Velihadre de tal di bracha. 1 second. So give him back the tal of bracha. This is not mishum de lo minkara minta. This is not nikah. What does that mean? If you guys remember, right, the doctor brought down when we were learning this the first time, right? Correct, doctor? He brought down that the rabbi went and he said, why is it that we come and we say, when we say Mashiva Roch Morida Geshem, we say Livracha. When we say Morida Tal, we say Livracha. Not Livracha. Morida Tal, Livracha. Why Livracha? So the reason why is because there's Tal of Bracha and there's regular Tal. Regular Tal is always there. Tal of Bracha is special. It's a special dew which brings bracha. So therefore, right, Eliyahu Navi did not tell him that it was going to stop, right, of regular tal. Because regular tal is always going to be there. But he was going to stop the tal of bracha. And here it says, Afilu tal bracha she'tzmiach shum tzemach, that is going to bring forth plants and trees and things like that. That's a tal of bracha. So the Gemara asks, okay, fine. So Eliyahu Navi could have told Achav, I'm going to bring the rain, and I'm going to bring the tal of bracha. Regular tal was always there, but I'm going to bring you back to tal bracha. It's not nikar. It's not recognizable. Meaning, a person sees tal, he doesn't know that this is tal bracha and this is not tal bracha. He doesn't know the difference. He just thinks tal is tal. Tal is do, and that's it. He doesn't know the difference. So because of that, he didn't bring anything. Ruchot. It's true. There's money of bracha also.
How you
Yeah.
will know the difference?
Which one?
No, you can't.
How do we know that it doesn't stop the winds? So Amr Yeshua Levi says, Yeshua Levi, the Amr Kabbalah says, that like the four the four directions of the heaven, I'm spread you out, says Hashem. My comment, what is he telling them exactly? If you're going to tell me, Kadosh Baruch Hu comes and he tells Bnei Yisrael that I'm going to disperse you in the four ruchot in the world. If so, ke'arba, be'arba mibaile. Why does it say ke'arba? Like the four corners of the world, I'm going to disperse you. In the four corners of the, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to disperse us, he disperses us in be'arba kanfot haaretz, not ke'arba kanfot haaretz, like the arba kanfot haaretz. Elahachi kama, this is what we say. Kashem she'efshal olam belo ruchot, kach yefshal la'olam bela Yisrael. Just like it's impossible for the world without wind, it's impossible for the world without Bnei Israel. And Amar Rabbi Chanina says, Rabbi Chanina, Hirkach, therefore, Halakha l'Maaseh. We're finishing with Halakha l'Maaseh. Bimot hachama, in the summertime. Amar Mashiv Ruach, and Machzirin Oto. Yeah, you heard. If you said Mashiv Ruach in the summertime, you don't go back. Why don't you go back? Because Be'emet, there's Ruach all year round. So if you say Mashiv Ruach, and Machzirin Oto. Amar Morida Geshem. If you say Morida Geshem, Machzirin Oto. Thank you. You do bring it back. Right? Why? Because it's a klala. Bimota Geshamim, in the winter time, Lo Amar Mashiv Ruach. If you didn't say Mashiv Ruach, Machzirin Oto, you don't go back. Lo Amar Morida Geshem, Machzirin Oto. If you don't say it, you're going to be Machzirin Oto. Why? Because in the winter time, right? Bimota Geshamim, if you didn't say Mashiv Ruach, you don't go back. But if you didn't say Mashiv Morida Geshem, you need Geshem. It's a winter. The Lord, and not only that, even if you said Ma'avira Ruach Mafriach Hatal, you're not going to go back, right? Okay, fine. And until here, we're going to stop.